This is the last section of notes from Unit 2. It's on the native peoples who lived in Georgia before the Europeans got here. And in chronological order, those people are the Paleo Indians, the Archaic Indians, the Woodland Indians, and the Mississippian. Here's a timeline. Earliest are the Paleo Indians from about 11,000 BC up through 8,000 BC. Then we're in the Archaic period, that's about 8,000 BC, going forward to about 1,000 BC, at which point the Woodland period begins, and then there's some overlap between the Woodland and the Mississippian. You've got the Woodland ending at about 900 AD, but the Mississippian beginning a little bit before that. And the Mississippian period is when the Spanish arrive in Georgia. These are events that are happening in other places of the world. People have lived in Georgia for thousands of years. Now, we know about these people from studying several things. First of all, artifacts, tools, pottery, remains of their structures, and other items that are found on or underneath the soil. This is what archaeologists dig for. Archaeology is the study of those artifacts. From those artifacts, archaeologists learn about people's culture, their beliefs, their traditions, and their ways of life. And so we know a good bit about the people who lived here before the Europeans. Earliest time period is the Paleo Indian culture. Paleo means very old. This time period is 11,000 to 8,000 BC. Um, Lots of North America was covered by glaciers. This is the last ice age. They were nomads living in small groups. Their food sources were animals that aren't around anymore, mastodons and mammoths. They did have some stone tools, but they were fairly crude. Next is the Archaic culture from about 8,000 BC to 1500 BC. These Indians lived in small groups based around families. They did have cutting tools, but they were a little more refined and not as big and heavy and clunky as paleo tools. They built settlements near rivers, and their major innovation was pottery. They made things in which to store stuff. The atl, this is called it's a throwing stick. You'll use one when we go on the 8th grade trip, but this is a new sort of hunting tool that the archaic peoples came up with. Next is the woodland culture. This is from about 1000 BC to 1000 AD. They're building more permanent shelters, including circular houses. Horticulture is the big deal here. They're farming, and that is a major innovation. Also, the bow and arrow emerged during this time period. So, farming and the bow and arrow are major advancements for the woodland cultures. They also built mounds and stone effigies. That's what this is. This is the rock eagle. It's over near Eatonton. We'll learn a little bit more in class. And last but not least, the Mississippian culture. These are the people who were here when the Spanish started exploring in the southeast. 800 AD to when the Spanish arrived, 1600 AD. Their societies are much more complex. They're growing more things, corn, squash, beans, fruits, nuts, berries, and still hunting. There is also art and jewelry that came from long distances, like things made out of copper. We'll talk about why that's so important. The houses were built around a central location. They were still using the same tools of the woodland people. They definitely had ranks in society. There were chiefs and people who didn't have as much power. So that is a change from the old woodland culture. They also began to build very, very large mounds, like the Okmulgee Mounds or the Kolomoki Mounds. These were ceremonial mounds that you can go visit today. Then, by the time the Spanish arrive, that's known as the Lamar period, and those are, this is when changes really, really, really start to happen in the southeast because you've got Europeans arriving, and that means huge, huge, huge changes for the people who are living in this area. That wraps it up for Unit 2. We've talked about the landforms, the geography, the rivers, the physical features, and the people who were here before the Europeans.